back to the channel. Now we are talking transfers. Now the transfer window officially closed on Monday 8 p.m. and we saw a huge number of players move across clubs in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Now, obviously, I'm just going to talk a few about some of the players that moved across from Ligue 1 to Premier League to Serie A to La Liga to Bundesliga. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. But obviously, I'm going to be starting off with Alexander Isak, who moved from Newcastle to Liverpool. Now, that was some interesting turnaround because, to be honest, I didn't see it happening. And I don't know, maybe because I felt that Liverpool had already spent a lot on Florian Wirtz, Ugo Ekitike, Jeremy Frimpong, bringing in a lot of players and a huge amount. And so seeing Alexander Isak happening at £130 million, it was a good one, to be honest, because I felt it really fought for him leaving the Newcastle squad. And so seeing him go eventually to Liverpool, I think it was a win-win for both the club and the player. And when I say the club now, I mean both clubs, because Alexander Isak is a very good striker. It will give you everything you want in a proper number 9. And I do think and believe that is what the amount that Liverpool paid. And honestly, if you look at Liverpool's transfer window so far, yes, they did spend a lot, but coming from the last summer transfer window, they didn't really spend. The club didn't really spend for Arne Slot. So yes, deservedly, he won the Premier League, and so he has the right to say, oh yes, I want this player, I want this player, I want this player. And I think they did very well in the transfer window. You can obviously see Ugo Ekitike scoring goals already for Liverpool. But they also sold some players, the likes of Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich. They also sold Harvey Elliott to Aston Villa. One or two of their players also went on loan. So I think it was a good transfer window for Liverpool. And then to Chelsea, they made some very good signings also. And I think so far, probably before the end of the video, I'm going to look at the club that had the best transfer window. But looking at Chelsea in particular, they brought in Liam Delap from Ipswich Town. They also brought João Pedro from Brighton, Gittins from Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, and even before the end of the transfer window, they brought on Garnacho from Manchester United, which I don't know how to feel about that particular transfer yet, but I don't think it's a bad one because they do need 2 players, especially on the right, supporting Gittins. And so I think it's not, Garnacho has Premier League experience, so maybe that is what they needed. But already they have on the left João Pedro and Pedro Neto actually, and Estavio on that right. So it's good enough that in every position, I think the only position that they didn't have 2 players was in the number 10 position. They were looking to bring in Simmons, but that didn't happen because he eventually went to Tottenham. But they eventually, I think before the end of the transfer window, they brought in Facu Neto or something like that, Brighton player, but he's on loan. So let's see how that goes. But some of their players that went out is obviously their number 9, Nicholas Jackson, went out. They eventually sold Ben Chilwell to Strasbourg. 1 or 2 other of their players also left permanently. Chukwuemeka, Noni Madueke, who went to Arsenal. Yes, they had, and I think they were one of the clubs that brought in a lot of money, especially selling players this season. So yeah, I think they also did well in the transfer market. Also, Manchester United brought in the likes of Konya, Mbeumo, Šeško, and they also signed a new goalkeeper, Lament. And I don't know if he's a good goalkeeper because I really didn't get to hear much about him. But then again, maybe that's what Manchester United needs. I feel like the pressure was a lot on Onana, and that made him fumble a lot. So with someone that they have now, they were looking to bring in Emiliano Martinez from Aston Villa, but that didn't pull through. But they got a goalkeeper, so let's see how that goes. And then to Manchester City, obviously Man City brought in at the last day of the transfer window, they brought in Donnarumma. They did sell Ederson to Galatasaray, but I think he actually went to Fenerbahce, but they sold him anyways and then brought in Donnarumma, which I don't think is a bad one. Don't forget that earlier, before they went to the FIFA Club World Cup, they signed a lot of players. Ryan Cherki, at Nori, they did sign a lot of players, so they didn't do much going forward, but they did bring Donnarumma, who I think is a very, very, very good goalkeeper. And yeah, I think that's probably what they need also, because their defense has been struggling a bit. But some of their players also left. The likes of Akanji has gone. One or two other, even Iken Goodwin also left at the very last minute to Galatasaray. So it's been a good one for Manchester City, although they've somehow struggled at the beginning of the season, losing 2 games and winning just 1 out of the 3 games so far. But you know what, it's just the beginning of the season, so anything can happen. And then looking at some of the other teams, the likes of Newcastle, who are going to obviously be playing in the Champions League, the side Watermende, that's probably their proper number 9, and also they brought in Yuan Wissa. I don't know. I feel like they still need 1 or 2 other players, but the window is closed anyways. So let's see how it goes for them, probably before the winter transfer window in January, and see if they'll struggle or if they'll be able to manage the whole situation. And then obviously Aston Villa, I feel they've also not done badly, but they brought in Jadon Sancho from Manchester United. That's a loan deal. They brought in quite a few players also, so I think it's good. It's good for them. As I said, a lot of teams in the Premier League did sign a lot of players. They also did sell a lot of players, and so it's not even a surprise. Even Arsenal obviously brought Victor Gyökeres, Noni Madueke from Chelsea. Noga, they brought in quality players. They did. So you can tell that there's going to be really huge competition for that Premier League title, in the season. And also, as I've mentioned, some other teams in Europe signing some big quality players. Bayern Munich obviously signing Nicholas Jackson on loan, and I think he has a buyout clause or something like that, but yeah, he's on loan with them for a year. It's a good one for them, because I feel like, I don't know if they're looking at the fact that they can't completely trust or rely on Harry Kane, because sometimes he picks up injury and is out for a while. So yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. But also we see Boniface of Bayern Leverkusen going to Werder Bremen. He had a whole situation about him going to AC Milan, but he didn't pull through because of him failing his medical and all yada yada. But he has gone to Werder Bremen now. So yes, the transfer window is officially closed on Monday. Now a lot of coaches will now have the time to work with their players, concentrating on having to get them to work together, gel together and give them the best on the field. And I want to believe that's obviously what is going to happen, because you see the likes of Chelsea that are going to be playing in the Champions League, the FA Cup, the EFL and the Premier League. It's a lot of competition, and so yes, they need at least 2 players in a position. And even with Nicholas Jackson going to Bayern Munich, you could see that they recalled Mark Gill from Sunderland, who obviously went on loan to Sunderland. They brought him back because Liam Delap picked up injury, and they're so lucky, because I feel like it happened before the transfer window closed. So good for them that they were able to recall Mark Gill from Sunderland on time. Lucky them. But yes, I do think that the transfer window was really quite interesting to see a lot of clubs buying players, selling players, especially Chelsea. I think they made about £300 million back in sales, and they spent about 200 and something million in buying players. So it's been quite good. But for me, if I'm actually going to pick the club who I feel made the best transfer, made the best buy in this transfer window is going to be between two clubs. It's obviously going to be between Liverpool and Chelsea. Now, one of the for both of them, for Chelsea is going to be João Pedro, because he has scored 2 goals and made 2 assists. That's 4 goal contributions in 3 games. And then Ugo Ekitike, who has scored 3 goals in 3 games. I think he scored 2 in one match and then 1 in the other one. He didn't obviously score in their last game, but you know, they've made quite a contribution to the team already. Even I can make a shout for Victor Gyökeres, because he also has scored 2 goals in the last 3 games for Arsenal. So I do think, if I'm going to really pick one player that has been, you know, that has stood out so far in the last 3 games for their new club, is obviously going to be João Pedro of Chelsea. And I think he's one player that is going to give everything, and because he can play as a number 9, as a false 9, number 10, as a number 11. You can literally put João Pedro in any position and it will function. And so that is why I think he is one player that I'll look out for this season. I think Chelsea has spent wisely on him. That's my own personal opinion. I want to hear yours. I want to hear what you think about the transfer window so far, how excited you are or not, and probably if you feel like your club could have done better, maybe signing 1 or 2 other players they needed in which particular position. But that's my thought. Share yours in the comment section. I will definitely be reading. Also, don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles at _officialFSH. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your loved ones. Thank you so much for always sticking with your guide. Don't forget, we are trying to get the channel to 1,000 subscribers before the end of this year. Yes, before the end of this year, and I trust you guys that you're going to make it happen. Thank you so much for sticking with your girl Fentala. Until I come your way again, bye for now.